Welcome back to the Selling Point Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Nix, founder of Transformative Sales Systems. And today I want to talk directly to CEOs and business owners who are doing everything they know how to do and still missing revenue. If that's you, this episode is going to feel uncomfortably familiar. Because what I'm seeing right now across a lot of small and mid-sized businesses is not lazy sales teams. It's not a lack of hustle. It's not even bad markets, although those certainly do not help. What I'm seeing is companies working hard inside systems that are no longer built for where the business is today. And that's what I want to unpack. The title of this episode is Working Hard, Still Missing Revenue. Why effort isn't the problem. And yeah, that statement punches a little, and it's supposed to. Because it's effort, because if effort alone fixed revenue problems, most of you wouldn't be listening to this episode. Now let me start with a blunt truth that most CEOs don't hear often enough. If your sales team is working hard and you're still missing revenue, effort is no longer the problem. Leadership is. Now, let me be very clear about what I am not saying. I am not saying your people don't care. I am not saying that you're failing as a leader. I'm not saying the market owes you anything. What I am saying is that your business is likely outgrown the way sales is being led. This happens all the time in growing companies. Sales works early because the founder is close to everything. Deals are simple. The sales cycle is short. You know what's happening because you are involved. Then the business grows. Complexity increases. More people become involved. The pipeline gets bigger. The stakes get higher. But the sales leadership model stays the same. And that's where predictability breaks down. Now, why is just working harder not doing it? Well, when revenue starts slipping, most companies reach for the same levers. Make more calls, do more follow-up, create urgency, more meetings, more pressure. And look, sometimes that creates a short-term bump. It does. Activity goes up, the CRM fills up, everyone looks busy. But the month ends and the number is still short. Now here's why. Effort increases activity. It does not automatically improve execution. If the system underneath is weak, more effort just means more time spent inside a weak system. That's how you end up with exhausted sales teams and frustrated owners, both feeling like they're pushing and getting nowhere. A team can be running full speed and still be running in the wrong direction. Now, activity versus progress. This is one of the biggest mind shifts I try to help CEOs make. Activity is visible. Progress is profitable. Most sales teams are really good at describing activity. I'll follow up. I just checked in. I sent the proposal. They're interested. We're waiting on timing. Now, none of those statements tell you whether the deal is actually moving. Progress sounds different. Progress sounds like we confirmed the problem and the impact. We know who decided and how they decide. We discussed budget and what it's compared against. We have scheduled decision meeting. We aligned on next steps with dates. When revenue is missed, what I usually find is this. Sales teams are busy, sincere, and working really hard, but deals are not moving forward. And that's not a motivation problem. That's a leadership, process, and coaching problem. Now, why do good companies miss revenue? Now, this one's important because I don't work with bad companies. I work with good ones, strong operations, solid products, long-term customers, people who honestly care. And they still miss revenue for the same structural reasons. Sales leadership quietly becomes a part-time job. The owner is still the default sales manager, or a top rep gets promoted but never really stops selling. Operations tries to oversee sales without a sales leadership toolkit. Meetings happen, but nobody is truly leading execution week to week. Here's a line I often say, and it usually lands pretty hard. Sales leadership is the first role growing companies outgrow and the last one they intentionally replace. Not because anyone is irresponsible, because everyone is busy, because operations feels louder, because sales feels harder to control. So it gets tolerated instead of engineered. Now let's talk about CRMs and pipelines for a minute, the illusion that those can create. Most CRMs in a small and mid-sized business are, well, let's just say it, filing cabinets, not really management tools. Deals move stages because someone feels good. Close dates are based on optimism. Forecasts depend on memory and hope. That's not pipeline management. That's record keeping. A real pipeline should help you answer questions like, what actually changed this week? What is the next scheduled buyer step? What could stall this deal? What evidence supports the closing date? If your forecast surprises you at the end of a month, the problem didn't happen at the end of the month. It happened weeks earlier when reality wasn't being forced into the conversation. Now, there's some hidden costs, that are associated with missing revenue. And it's more expensive than you just might realize. It's not just the number. It affects hiring decisions. It affects cash flow confidence. It affects investment timing. It affects morale. It affects how aggressively you lead. And here's the dangerous part. When revenue is consistently missed, the organization lowers its standards quietly without anything being said. Forecasts start to get padded. Expectations soften. Urgency becomes cyclical. Everyone learns to live with unpredictability. That's not because people don't care. It's because leadership systems aren't holding the line. Now, there are some questions that can just change the entire trajectory. And most CEOs ask one like this: why aren't we closing more deals? When a better question would be, who is actively leading sales every single week? Not attending meetings, not reading dashboards, honestly and actually leading. Sales leadership means someone owns pipeline truth, coaching quality, deal strategy, standards, and the cadence. When revenue matters, leadership has to show up weekly, not quarterly. Because pipelines don't drift overnight. They drift 1 week at a time. Now, what does leadership look like when revenue honestly matters? When revenue is missed, there are a few leadership mechanisms that always need tightening. First, clear pipeline stage definitions. Deals move forward because they meet criteria, not because someone feels good. Second, disciplined weekly pipeline reviews. And that's not a roll call. It's not updates. It's truth. What changed? What's next? What is at risk? Third, honest, real coaching. Not motivational speeches, not encouragement, skill improvement, deal thinking, buyer clarity. And finally, professional accountability, clear expectations, consistent follow-through, no drama. Accountability isn't about being the bad guy. It's about being clear, crystal clear. Confusion is far more damaging than pressure. So now, why is this so common in small and mid-sized businesses? And if you're listening and thinking, I get this, but I don't have time to be the sales leader, you're not wrong. Most CEOs are carrying operations, finance, purchasing, hiring, client-customer relations, strategy. Sales leadership becomes something you do when you can get around to it. And that's exactly why revenue becomes unpredictable. The business isn't broken. The structure is just incomplete. Now, Transformative Sales Systems is a fractional sales management company. And one of the solutions that we would provide, or at least suggest, is fractional sales management. And that's where an FSM isn't a consultant who just drops in with ideas and then disappears. It's not motivational speaking. It's not theory. It's experienced sales leadership embedded into your business on a part-time basis. Someone who leads the pipeline weekly, coaches consistently, installs standards, improves the forecasts, creates accountability, and builds a structure that sticks. For many CEOs, fractional sales managers are the responsible bridge between where their business is today and where it needs to go, without committing to full-time overhead before the company is ready. When revenue is already missed, you don't need more ideas. You need leadership. If you're missing revenue goals right now, here's the takeaway I want you to sit with. Sales doesn't need saving. It needs leadership. Hard work matters. Effort matters. Your people matter. But effort without structure creates frustration, not predictability. If this episode resonated, I've written a full article that goes deeper into this topic, and you can find it on the Transformative Sales Systems blog, and you can find a link in the description below. And in this next episode, I'm going to tackle another tough truth, why hiring another salesperson almost never fixes the revenue gap. If you found this helpful, please share it with another CEO or business owner who's feeling the pressure right now. You're not alone in this. Thanks for listening to the Selling Point podcast, and I'll see you next time. Onward.